This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 384 for Monday, September 7th, 2015. My name is Steve.
And my name is Ed.
And we're hosting yet another Zachless episode, but we're joined by some good friends today. First, we have our special guest, One Piece translator, Stephen Paul.
Hey guys, what's up? I am really excited to talk about this week's chapter.
And I hope you're ready, too.
I am ready.
They go hand in hand.
Excited and ready.
And we also have Eisner Nominated comic book artist for Mermin. We have Joey Weiser.
Hey, glad to be back.
Awesome. And joining us for his first full episode ever, we have one of our columnists on the website. We have Sam Leach.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's going good. Are we all good?
I'm pretty good.
Everyone's good.
We got a lot to talk about in this episode.
Yeah, we're pretty excited this week. This is a monumental chapter, and it's not even chapter 800, and we know how Oda likes to save his big surprises for those. So can only imagine what that chapter is gonna be like. But we should talk about this chapter first. But a couple things before we get into that. Anime Week in Atlanta is coming up. That's September 24th through the 27th. We have a panel there. Don't know the specifics just yet. And so far, I think I can confirm that the starting lineup is definitely myself, Joey, and Jose.
Yes.
All right.
I will confirm on my behalf that I will be there.
Awesome. Happy to hear it. I know, Doc is also going to be there. And Doc messaged me on Twitter. He's like, yeah, thanks to my friend that listens to your show, I remembered I'm going to AWA. So Doc will be there. I don't know if he'll be on the panel. It's been a while since we've had him on our show. I don't know where he is in One Piece. Zach, who I got to see. I got to see recently. Zach.
And that was only the second most important thing that happened to him this week was seeing you.
I would argue that. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw you guys have name tags.
Yeah, yes. So we could, remember who's best friends. Who our best friend is, but I guess you could propose to your girlfriend too. I guess that's all right. But hanging out with me, that's the big draw. But yeah, I guess we should also say that Zach is now engaged.
Woo! Congratulations, Zach.
And I've told him for years. I'm like, I want to go to a wedding where I could lift someone up on a chair. So my dream will soon come true.
Damn, she beat me to it.
Yeah, but we were talking about Atlanta. But that con is coming up. We definitely have a panel. Yeah, Zach's gonna get married. Ooh. Our second episode of OPP Dallas was released. Thank you so much, Jose. That focuses on the DVD cover art for the Funimation releases. You could go check that out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/One Piece Podcast. Next episode is coming out. Bug Jose. That's the answer I got for you. Other than that, bit of a downer. No chapter next week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
we do have Sam here, for the first time in a while, and I believe you've written some articles recently. What has been going around on the website recently?
On One Piece Podcast?
Yes.
My most recent one was the top 7 twists in One Piece. That was the most recent one I did, which came after kind of a few month hiatus for writing for website, but that's my newest one. I've got another thing coming up this week, but I'm kind of torn between two special things that I have in mind, so I don't know. I don't want to commit to anything quite yet. So,
And you've also been doing, I think we did mention this once before, but it's been a while since you've been on. You did, you are doing the weekly episode reviews at Anime News Network now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
nice.
So
it's always good to have a big fan doing the reviews for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And hopefully
that's what they wanted, so I answered the call.
I hope they're at least a little more positive than ours have been. I don't know. Well, the first episode, we'll wait to see what we have to say about this week's episode. But Ed and I weren't too keen on last week's. But you'll have to find out. You'll have to find out when you listen to the rest of the show. And that's pretty much what we have for you. That's the latest the latest and greatest. I was gonna say latest in breaking, but I feel like breaking comes before latest. It doesn't matter. We got a big manga recap coming up for chapter 799, so should we get to it?
Yes, Father.
Yeah.
Father. This is the manga recap for chapter 799, Father and Sons. Ed, what's going on here on the cover page?
Well, there are squirrels, and they're trying to get their mouths around these giant nuts. But the one squirrel, he's really struggling with it, and the two in the background are really freaking out. Look at that. They just can't believe that Sabo is, getting the food for them.
Whoa, you must be like a superhero.
Yeah, like I can't quite tell if they're happy or like scared.
I should note that this suggestion is from Noda Skywalker from Osaka of Saka. My bad. I pronounced that so American. My bad. We've definitely seen his name before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because he's a really big fan. Yeah, it's just squirrels and they're nuts. It's nutty. I don't know.
So I was putting those strong fingers to good use.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that. It's a good detail that he's got his dragon claw working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess I forgot for a second that that's pretty impressive. I guess I'm so used to characters being able to leap high bounds or fall from really high up places and just scratch it off that that things that would be impressive for a normal human I kind of forget about.
Mm-hmm. I like to think that Sabo is like, oh yeah, I'm just crushing these walnuts. Oh, it reminds me of when I crushed Bastile's forehead, or when I didn't do that, more specifically.
Crushed his mask.
I unfortunately, when I saw these nuts, I thought of the character from the first episode of the second season of Rick and Morty, the time cop or something.
Oh yeah, the Key and Peele guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of looks like that.
Yeah, I won't get into what they resemble, but I think that's about it for this cover page. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. So starting back over with where we left off last time, Luffy's attacking Fujitora like, I'm gonna kick you and punch you and a kick and a punch.
Bang, zoom.
Yeah,
kick
and
punch.
a headbutt.
It's all in the
stuck
mind.
into the ground.
If you want to test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach you.
Teacher is sure to beat you.
Nevertheless, you get a lesson from teacher.
Now,
Thank God we were all on the same wavelength, because if Joey wasn't going to do it, I was about to utter it. So, well done, guys. Well done.
But you give the headbutt and stomp you into the ground, and Sai's like, is this a good time for this? Should we go to his aid? I was saying that, but they're having a conversation basically.
I got a little confused at first with the middle tier, because I forgot what the shore of Dressrosa looked like.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes important later on in the chapter. Actually,
I forgot. It's like a big old pie crust.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like that staircase in Lord of the Rings. That's where the exit is.
Mm-hmm. It's like a big old deep dish pizza.
Stuffed crust.
I'm getting hungry. Don't do this.
No, actually, it's like it looks like one of those Japanese weird pizzas from Pizza Hut with the hot dogs.
Yeah, exactly. They just have giant hot dogs inside them.
What?
I don't know. Actually, no. I think that was a Middle Eastern Domino's invention, and that people overseas see American food as one big thing. So putting hot dogs and pizza together wouldn't seem weird. But
I thought the Don Quixote family
had bad taste in pizza.
Had bad taste.
Or black stacks of pizza.
Yeah.
So we get Zoro, and he says that he agrees with what Luffy said, but it's like, well, why is he fighting that way? It doesn't make any sense. But Fujitora bounds ahead to attack, and Luffy sort of screeches backwards, and he says, I'm not running anymore. And Fujitora begins, I can tell you got the strength to back your words. I appreciate your spirit, youngster. And we go to the next page.
Yes, and so Fujitora is wondering, why are you calling out those moves? The same thing that I was wondering when I was reading the last page. And
he's a shonen hero.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, right?
I can't say it necessarily
weird
like
to me.
confused me at first. I'm like, oh, that's what you normally do in a
Yeah,
manga.
but they don't sound like, attacks. He doesn't say, "Here comes Gear Second" or whatever. But
How about another Kamehameha?
so Fujitora is wondering if this is a sympathy for him, and says that he's an admiral of the Navy and called a monster far and wide, and he's saying that he doesn't appreciate this kind of pity and sympathy, and is sort of demanding that Luffy fight him seriously. But Luffy is saying, tells him to shut up, and saying, "I can't just whoop you without saying anything when I already know you can't see." And he says that they're fighting, but he doesn't actually think he's that bad of a guy. And to this,
He doesn't dislike him.
yeah. To this, Fujitora makes the best face. He cracks up and gives a sort of like a, I don't know, kind of a cat face, pouting out his lips. And but this just enrages Luffy, so they're both not very happy
You
with
don't
each
see
other.
that shading on Luffy's face like that very often. He doesn't get angry like that. Normally.
Yeah. Maybe
Got a
he's
flashlight
it's
underneath
hockey.
his chin.
Want to hear a scary story?
But so he says, "What are you laughing about?" And then lets him know that another kick's coming. And Fujitora says, "What will this mercy do for him?" And he's disappointed in him. And then he calls out Gravity Blade, calling out his attack. And then let's see. And he says that when a man fights, he has a standing to uphold, and that leaves no room for sympathy, for honest sympathy, and likes and dislikes. Luffy takes that in.
Yeah, he's basically saying personal sentiment has no room. There's no room for personal sentiment here. This is we have things to uphold here, and you're disrespecting that. It's kind of what Fujitora is angry about.
And we cut to the next page, and we hear the bellowing of an attack, Raging Tiger, as it smashes through that pie crust of Dressrosa. And oof, and I'm sure that's Luffy being sent back into that. And Fujitora continues like, "Are you really that big of a fool? I'm trying my utmost to uphold my standing over here." And as Luffy's flying through the air, we see Cavendish. He's like, "It's Straw Hat, Howardin." And Howardin's like, "Gotcha." They grab him like, "All right, put him on the ship. We're not letting this go on anymore." And
Lego my ego.
and Zoro's like, "Awesome. We'll switch spots." And
I love that Luffy's like, even, definitely with his crew, and now to this sort of extension, this guy that everyone looks up to and trusts, but they don't trust him entirely, and they know when to sort of take over.
Mm-hmm.
But Zoro thinks this is his cue, but Bartolomeo's like, "No, Mr. Zolo, you got to take it easy. We got our own needs." And he's like, "Needs?" And Usopp kind of butts in, asks, Lumbus, sorry. And I knew him like, it's a pun off of somebody. Usopp's like, "Wait, is there only one ship?" He's like, "No, look closer. Look closer." It's like, would I dare like dock my ship in such an unstable location? And as the fog kind of clears, like, "Whoa, there's a whole line of ships. Just look at them all." And they're like, "Yeah, that's right. Our ships extend out to the mist 3 miles away." And
That's a long way.
And yeah, 3 miles is deep, and there's a lot of ships. You could see some just there in the fog. That's a lot of detail too in those drawings. Those ships are not easy to draw. And he says, "Use the Yanta Maria fleet's connected bridge to cross the sea." Almost it kind of looks like the sea train rails.
Yeah,
Just sitting there, laying on top of the ocean, just looks so unstable. And Luffy's like, "No, I'm still fighting." And they're like, "It's like, stop already." And I believe this is Howard in saying that, like, just stop. And Fujitora, catches his breath and thinks to himself, "It's far too late now, Straw Hat." As we go to the next page.
Yeah. And he starts this monologue. I may not be able to see, but I know it's there before your eyes. A black sky with no escape. An endless downfall of rubble that sinks every ship fleeing to sea. Don't you see it? Even if you escape from me, your life will be in peril by the four emperors now that you've eliminated Joker. Your future is hell. But when we see Luffy running away being taken away by Hyruden, he's swearing he's going to fight. It's like, and they're like, Hyruden says, "You can do it next time. We have something we have to do right now."
If I could be Mr. Science person for a moment, Hyruden's a giant. That's got to be some really sturdy wood.
It's the incredibly floaty wood.
Yeah, but the kickback from him would fling everyone else around, right?
I think we've all been on those rickety bouncy bridges somewhere. Whether it be Tom Sawyer's Island or something like that. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking it would look like. And everyone's
it's one of those summer camp on the lake where they have the inflated giant trampoline thing where someone stands on the end and then the other guy jumps on the other end so it shoots them up in the air. That's basically what he would be doing to them.
But the thing from the movie Heavyweights?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
the blob.
The blob. That's all right.
Fujitora is upset that Luffy, you showed pity for my blind eyes, but I earned my lack of sight by my actions. I shut these lids on my own. Saw too many things I didn't care for. I can at least guide you to hell myself. But people coming up from behind Fujitora, and they're saying, "Give Rebecca back, Lucy. Aren't you supposed to be a hero? This country loved Rebecca. Don't let her be miserable anymore." And Fujitora's like, "What are you people doing? There's only criminals over here. We already evacuated all the Navy personnel because of my floating cloud of garbage." And that was last chapter. But it's like, don't no. I got this. You don't have to come over here. And the people are like, "Screw you, Navy. We don't need your help. We're gonna drive off those pirates ourselves." And you can see it's an interesting way they draw this, where they have the entire scene goes black. I guess that's how Fujitora perceives it. He can hear their cheers and what they say, but he can't see them. I guess.
Yeah,
that's how
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think there's. You could debate whether or not this is is this either Fujitora's just kind of his general I don't want to be crude about this, but his supernatural blindness senses where he can't see, so this is kind of a visual representation, or is this his observation hockey showing him this stuff, because we did kind of see something like that with Usopp earlier in the arc.
And they also say people who lose their senses become more acute in other areas. And I think someone who is blind will have a especially high-powered version of observation hockey. That wouldn't be ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
But that's that.
Yeah, I mean, it's easily within the realm of possibility that Fujitora would have, observation hockey. Pretty much anyone this tough has some kind of hockey, as we've seen in the world of One Piece.
Mm-hmm. Vice admirals and all have hockey of some kind.
Yeah.
Seems like most people do these days.
Yeah.
Oh, you have hockey too? Yeah, I have. I've
it is the new world after all.
Yeah,
right. Step right up, get your hockey.
Yeah, hockey's the devil fruit of the new world, right? Because in East Blue, not everybody had devil fruits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Sam is next.
And then the next page, we see that these crowds of people running, they're smiling.
They're smiling.
Doesn't really match up with what they're saying. Better watch out, Lucy. Get in your boats, gang. We'll chase them out to the open sea. But they don't look like people who are determined to hunt anyone down right now. Fujitora even mentions that there's no anger in their emotion, which is probably another possible sort of perception skill that he has.
I wanted to note this one guy on the far right. He's wearing a shirt that has wings around the letters, and it says Kaku 5. Surely he's not a fan of 5 Kakus from CP9.
Sadly, no. That is kakugo, which is the word. It basically means like it means like determination or like resolve or something like that. But it's often used in a kakugo shiro sense, where you tell someone like, get ready, because like in other words, like I'm gonna whoop your ass. You better be ready for this. So that's what they're saying when they're like, you better watch out, Lucy. That's what they're going, kakugo shiro, Lucy. So yeah, one of those shirts.
I think Fujitora is like the mentalist. He can read body language. He can read people's voices.
Right.
He's the mentalist. He solves crimes with his mind.
And then we have Abdullah and Jeet sort of responding to all this. You know, what's that? I hear a lot of noise behind this. It's the Dressrosians or Dressrosians or however you want to say that. The residents of Dressrosa. What do they want now? They're all crying for Lucy. Hey, Lucy. And then Fujitora is sort of picking up some of the whispers that the conversations that they're having with each other. Hey, everybody. Rebecca's in the house on top of the hill. She's with Kiris now. Are you crazy? We already knew that. So it's sort of a Kokoyashi thing we got here. Of course, this would happen after the way Kiris withdrew their father and daughter, after all. All the adults knew about this. Kiros, Rebecca, and Scarlet were living happily together in that little house on the hill. And just like the identity of the fairies, it was an unspoken rule never to mention it. So yeah, that's very reminiscent of what was going on with Nami's home village and all those people. And how it goes.
I don't know how I feel about this, though.
Too similar to Kokoyashi, or it just feels like an ass pull?
I just felt like, I kind of felt like it was a little bit of an ass pull. Like, oh, yeah, we all knew that. We just didn't mention anything.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I mean, there was a built-in story explanation for this, which is that Kiros, was a toy, so they all forgot about him for those years that Doflamingo was there. But
Right.
yeah, it does, just from a kind of reader's emotional perspective, it does seem like, oh, now you're all on their side kind of thing.
yeah, like what happened before when they're like, oh, get Kiros and then we'll be free.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of an ass pull. I didn't think it was necessary, but I guess maybe for the sake of the plot, so they could distract Fujitora.
Right.
Yeah, and it sort of kills two birds with one stone, where we get basically a 100% sort of optimistic ending, but it's also an ending where pirates are being chased off by the villagers, which is how Luffy likes to go, as he said back in
Yeah.
He's no
back during the
hero.
Morgan arc.
Heroes have to share their meat.
Right.
I'm not a hero.
Yeah. We don't want our country saviors to get away. Wait up, Lucy. Give back Rebecca. As long as we stick close enough to Lucy, Fujitora can't drop his rebel out of the sky. Get back here, you rascal.
Nice little crowd shot. I love this one guy. I don't know what's on his shirt, but he looks a lot like Wanze from CP7.
He kind of does.
He has a sort of similar pattern to what Chopper was wearing, right? The sort of, it's like sort of looks camo, sort of looks like clouds. Yeah.
But there's also the guy next to him with the We Heart Lucy tank top.
We love Lucy.
Does that guy like work for Redbubble or something? He just got it done in like 10 minutes. We love Lucy shirts, $40.
It's on T-Fury. It's your Dressrosa I Love Lucy crossover shirt.
Only 24 hours to buy it.
Yeah.
Of course, that's going to last 2 years worth of story. But
It's advertised from the Facebook page Lucy fans. Sorry. Just I see it all the time.
I fucking
now on
love
Facebook.
Lucy.
All Lucy fans will love this T-shirt. Share with your friends. We're a fan page. Like, sure you are. Sure you are.
So on the next page, Fujitora, he's kind of absorbed this scene that he realizes now that these people they're covering for Luffy, and he's not going to be able to go ahead with his plan. And he thinks to himself, Strawhead Luffy, honest to a fault. Everybody seems determined to save you. What kind of man are you? What color's your hair? What shape your eyes? What features do you wear?
What kind of music do you listen to?
What color underpants?
Who's your
What are
favorite?
your hobbies?
Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
How pretty is your mouth?
Oh, okay. Wow.
Took it there.
Taking the southern accent to a different place, Ed. I see.
Up to the hills.
Yeah, way up in the mountains where no one can hear you.
Down the river. And so yeah, Fujitora, he now all of a sudden he's changed his tune about his eyes. He's like, I suppose I shouldn't have closed these eyes. Now I want to take a gander at your face. I reckon it must look mighty kind. And so yeah, he's basically in a bind now. He kind of realizes, like, I guess I kind of the bad guy here. You know, he's got this giant cloud of debris that's gonna crush this guy, and you know, with all these innocent civilians down below, it doesn't reflect too well on Fujitora. And Bastille is kind of he's shocked and consternated. He's like, what in the world is he doing? How long is he going to keep that rubble floating around? And you know, the troops are withdrawn from Luffy's vicinity, but now all the citizens are clogging the ports. So they've basically been outmaneuvered here. And we skip on ahead to Bartolomeo. The whole crew has the whole gang has run down the gangplank here to the mothership of the Yonta Maria fleet, and Bartolomeo is all proud. He's like, "Feast your eyes on this baby, ain't she a beaut?" And somebody points out that is not actually his ship. So why are you so proud of it?
Now you could get your own set of ships and stay the hell away from my locker. Fleet.
It is the titular Yonta Maria, the mothership of the fleet, and this is it's enormous, because if you recall, Hyruden was like basically the height of all the ships that they were running past in the earlier shot, and now, you know, it's like at least a good 7 or 8 times taller than him. Just for the deck alone, much less the all of the sails and everything. It's enormous. And I guess I should point out, if you don't recall from back when Orlumbus was originally introduced, that the Yonta Maria is a bit of a pun on the Santa Maria, the Nina the Pinta the Santa Maria, where San is the number 3 and Yon is the number 4 in Japanese. So he's one-upped it.
It's kind of the way Luffy would name a ship, right? Can't be the Santa Maria.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. He's like, oh, you have the Santa Maria? Well, I've got the Yonta Maria. And yeah,
one ship better than mine.
They got to get aboard because time is of the essence, and Bartolomeo promises, like, oh, don't worry, guys, I'll show you my ship later. You guys will freak out.
That
Oh man,
really worries me.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah,
I
don't
Like
think
his ship is a giant Luffy on the front of it.
yeah, because that made me think about wondering if the world knows what all the Straw Hats look like mostly, but is it public knowledge what the Straw Hats ship looks like?
Yeah, that's what I wonder, because I thought maybe it'll be like a bootleg looking Sunny, but I'm not sure if the Sunny is actually well known.
I kind of feel like it's more likely that Bartolomeo is the one who's going to freak when he's like, "Oh my God, they're on my ship!"
I'm kind of picturing like a naked Luffy as the.
Oh man, what's flexing?
What's the front of the ship again?
The masthead.
Masthead. Yeah, I see that, and I worry a little. But this is an awesome panel. I love all the detail in this ship. It looks great, and it's huge. It's huge. As we go into the next page, and we kind of get a rundown of all your friends from the Coliseum. First, there's Giant Mercenary Hyruden. He says, Straw Hat, I have 4 fellow mercenary giants. One day we will stand atop all of giant kind and rebuild the giant pirate crew that once shook the foundations of the world. And I don't know who's... I think
it's Frankie.
It's just Luffy.
Yeah, I think
There's
Luffy's
one of them.
saying, huh?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I bet you'll be really tough rivals. We'll meet you again soon. And Usopp gets the shiny eyes, and he's just like, the giant pirate crew, the return to the glory days of Master Dory and Master Brogy, Luffy. Because Usopp has a lot of close ties with the Giants now. He's, he practically worships them, Dorian Broggie, and then he had his that led to his partnership with the two Giants from Enies Lobby.
And also, Hyruden was the one who held him up.
Oimo and Kashi. I couldn't remember them for a moment.
But also, Hyruden was the one who held him up as the god Usopp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And Usopp just goes, I can't wait to go to Elbaf. So it's awesome. So for people that are theorizing that maybe Usopp went to Elbaf during the time skip. And I said, no, you can't do that. That's robbing us.
Were people saying that?
Some people were theorizing. I was like, do you think maybe Usopp went to Elbaf during the time skip? His clothes are kind of similar to Giants. And I'm like, that's like if they went to Fishman Island during the time skip. Like, yeah, we went to Fishman Island. Oh, how was it?
Like, I did find the One Piece.
It's possible. It's possible we saw people eating fish. Of course, they went to Fishman Island.
Dude, that would be like if Usopp went to Elbaf, he would show up. He would be like the kid who went to like Tahiti on his summer vacation or something like that. He would have all the merchandise. He would be telling everybody all about it. He would never shut up about it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Oh yeah, well in Elbaf they say blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. Everything tastes better in Elbaf. Banana milk.
Giant banana milk. Really good.
In Elbaf.
Oh boy.
Here we are at the 5-star hotel, the one from Lost in Translation, in Elbaf.
But I love how Luffy, or I guess it's Luffy, keeps saying like these things throughout this page, like, huh?
Yeah, remember that. We get back to our Lumbus. If you didn't remember his name, or if we ever his nickname, I should say, if we never heard, the Savage Surmounter. Is that Surmounter? Yes, I have no idea what a surmounter is.
It's a guy who surmounts.
Oh yes, my mistake. This is like my Yanta Maria fleet is comprised of 56 ships in all. I don't think he necessarily said it like that. That's just me reading it as I go along. It's like, they will surely be an aid to you. And Robin's like, aid? And we hear some whispering and yammering in the background. And we have Leo representing the Tontadas. He's like, Luffy Land, we have the Chief Tonta's permission. You gotta let us join up.
Join. That's an exciting word.
And we say, long arm porn star boxer.
No. It's a triple X boxer.
Triple X, like Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Or Ice Cube.
All right.
Say that again.
Ice Cube.
Like Vin Diesel or Ice Cube.
He says, I got no match among normal combatants, but I can't ignore pirates and still can't call myself a champion. And standing beside him is Longleg Jiao Kung Do, martial artist, Blue Gilly. And he says, I've decided to join up with Adeo and head out to sea. And we get former bounty hunters. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why I never put these two together as being like the perfect team up. The long arm and the long leg. It's great. For some reason, like, I just never occurred to me as like, oh yeah, we have two of these separate guys.
And all what Hideo has to do is just sit on top of Blue Gilly's shoulders, and
exactly.
They'll be Mecha Shiva.
Docking.
that might give Frankie Soldier Docking a run for its money. We also have Abdul and Jeet, and they're like, hey, don't forget about us, brothers. And we have the Dias Naval Battle Class A war criminal, Suleiman. And he says, I've been allowed to ride on this guy's ship. And this guy is pirate nobleman Cavendish. He's like, hey, if you want to ride, it's captain to you. And he's like, hey, and don't forget that I'm your senior as a pirate. We might be aligned, but I'm taking all the popularity. And Luffy's just like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Hey, Zach. You joined us.
He's just like, just do whatever you want. And who is this? Maybe it's Kevin says, well, the thing is...
No, it's Orlumbus, I think.
It's Orlumbus. I was like, well, the thing is, in 2 days, we were hanging out in the palace. You know, we all got together. We were hanging out in the palace, and we all just kind of clicked. It's great. I didn't realize that all these guys, played wiffle ball. And it was.
I wasn't looking for a relationship, but it sort of just happened.
We have so much in common. And he's like, allow me to explain. It's like, we arrived at this order by drawing lots.
What order is that, you ask? Well, number one, first up, the 75 members of the beautiful pirates, led by their captain, White Knight Cavendish. And he pulled the rose out of his pocket somewhere and stuck it in his teeth there, just for that shot. Next, leading the 56 in the Bartow Club, Captain Man-Eater Bartolomeo. It's very excited.
I'm glad the Bartow Club was mentioned again because I was getting very nervous about that.
Oh, they've just all been swept under the rug. He's forgotten about the Bartow Club.
Now he just needs to remember that briefcase.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's what we'll get next chapter. Maybe he'll show that to Luffy. Number 3.
It's just a bunch of clippings of old newspapers.
Marcellus Wallace's soul.
It's a scrapbook. Number 3, Don Sai, the 13th chieftain of the 1,000-strong Haposui army.
Don Sai now. He's officially the Don.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we saw Don Sai mentioned once before, but yeah.
I mean, it was official after he broke his grandfather's head, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's no paperwork, just right then and there, hired on the spot.
And number 4, leading not 1,000 men, but the 4-member XXX Gym Fighting Alliance, we have Ideo, Cannon of Destruction.
XXX gonna give it to you.
Indeed. Leo the Warrior. Do I need it? Are you going to do that?
Do what?
Can I continue? Okay. Leo the Warrior, number 5, commander of the 200 members of the Tonta Corps, followed by Captain Hyrodin, number 6, of the future giant pirate crew, which is still just at 5 members. Presumably, he will be recruiting more. And last but not least is the Commodore of the 4,300-man Yota Maria fleet, the adventuring pioneer Orlumbus.
Jesus.
And I want to point out something here because I feel like very few people would have recognized the distinction, but I did. Is he introduces himself as the adventuring pioneer Orlumbus. However, he was originally introduced in the Gladiator, in the Colosseum scene where they were going through all of these guys, introducing them for the first time. He was referred to as the Adventurer of Lies, Orlumbus. And so I feel like there's some subtle Christopher Columbus commentary going on here, which is that Orlumbus refers to him as the adventuring pioneer and other people call him the Adventurer of Lies. So he's like, no, I really did discover this continent on my own.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Some Vikings are going to have a word with him.
Yeah.
I thank you for mentioning that. I totally forgot about that. Man, is he like... He's like a level 10 Usopp.
Yeah, kind of. But Bartolomeo sums it all up. He says, well, Mr. Luffy, that's 5,600 in total. So now's the time for you to join with us, the 7 leaders, the representatives, to ritually exchange the cups of father and son. And Luffy's like, what? Father and son?
Whoa, hold on. The kid is not my son.
Oh, boy.
Seems like a Yakuza ritual.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Bartolomeo says, you're the boss, you're the father figure. You are, in Japanese, you are the oyabun. And we are the sons, your followers, the kobun. And he says, let us take our rightful places under the affiliation of the Straw Hat Pirates. So, yes, it is. Literally, it is a Yakuza. It is a Yakuza ritual. That's what they do. Is, Yakuza are these, kind of, they're not really surrogate families. It's not, they're kind of families, but it's more of like this sort of honorary family that you have where the guy who's your boss, he is the father, and you are essentially his sons, and that is the relationship that they are entering into. And I kind of feel like there is maybe a little bit of a distinction between this and what Whitebeard had. I think Whitebeard's he wanted more of a literal family, but that's basically what it was, and that's what Luffy has now.
Right, especially with Whitebeard's, his crew had divisions, but he also had all those pirates who were affiliated with him and came to his aid. So I feel like this is more like, I don't know, the DeKalb brothers.
I always thought since Marineford that this is exactly what's going to happen with Luffy. He's going to have all these pirate crews under his wing, and we're witnessing the start of that.
Yeah, but I think it's fitting that Luffy's kind of like, I don't care. Fine if you want to.
I'm fairly certain that the beginning of chapter 800 is just going to be a panel of Luffy just saying, "No."
Yeah, I kind of think so.
That's it. I should just put some closure. That is chapter 799. One Piece will be off next week.
Fuck.
Damn it.
Ooh.
Oda.
It's only been like 5 weeks, right?
Let's see. We had a break for it was the summer break.
Yeah.
where Jump
Oh, it was
off.
for
that's true.
on Obon, right?
Yeah, we did have the summer jump break. So Oda himself has been on schedule, but obviously as readers, yes, we did have a break pretty recently.
And I think we had a color spread fairly recently too. So I don't think we're necessarily getting one.
I think we are.
Really?
I think we definitely
chapter
are.
800?
Because he's taken, for chapter 800, and because he's taken a week off, like it just almost seems like an inevitability when he does that he comes back.
That's good. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. I've never really expected that though. It's usually like 100 chapter doesn't necessarily mean we get a cover spread because there's been plenty of those.
Yeah.
What was the newest color spread?
It was the octopus one with the warm white foam.
That was like forever ago.
Man, wouldn't a color spread depicting Luffy's crew and his fleet be amazing?
I could see something like that. There might be some kind of tie-in, like not anything specific since no details have been released, but something that kind of mentions the movie too, since that was recently announced. And he, aside from that one comment on the official website where he just says, "Hey, we're doing a movie," like he hasn't really addressed it himself in any way. So maybe there could be a little tie-in angle with that too, possibly.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, 799.
Sam, why don't we get your thoughts on the chapter?
Yes, Sam.
You got a little bit less material to go over during the chapter than the rest of us.
I think one of my favorite editorials that I had the most fun writing or had the most fun thinking about was one about alliances and how sort of the Straw Hat family has all these new ways to grow beyond just new official crew members joining. And so this chapter really had me floored. Like I was so happy that we got more than just Bartolomeo joining the alliance. I really, 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 really love the idea of the crew, getting bigger and the family growing. And now, that's what we got this week. We've got this much bigger group of people who are, in a way, Straw Hats now, or are going to be next chapter in all likelihood.
No, definitely. Ever since your article came out, I've started that's been my new belief. That's what I usually tell when people are like, "Oh, who do you think is gonna be the next Straw Hat?" I'm like, "Does it really matter?" Let me sit you down. Like when people's like, "Do you think Law is gonna join?" I'm like, well, "Here, sit down, young one. Let me wait."
Law has a crew.
Yeah, and Bartolomeo does too. I almost thought they were going comical route. It's like, wait, Bartolomeo, don't you have your pirate crew? Yeah. Hey guys, we're done. It's over.
Yeah, no. This to that point, this puts to rest a lot of the sort of questions about will Bartolomeo join? Will Leo join? Now we can just say, okay, they're kind of part of the Straw Hats, but they're not.
Yeah, it's like Sam said in his article. This is the new way of becoming a main character through alliance, not necessarily joining the crew. And I still think really the last spot is reserved for Jinbei, and I think that's it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Sam.
I mean, I think the crew might go beyond Jinbei like once or twice, but that's a different conversation.
Interesting. All right. Joey, what do you think about this chapter?
Yeah, this is, a big chapter. It was really cool to see them all listed at the end there. I think it's kind of funny, like, they say that they picked their rank or their numbers randomly, but I feel like if they hadn't given Cavendish number 1, he probably would have cried about it. But
why do you get to be Universe A?
Could be a scene.
And a thing that really surprised me is the Tontadas like shipping out. Like, I thought for sure that they would be, friends with the Straw Hats but stay behind. And the other big thing for me,
do they have a ship of their own, the Tontadas?
I don't know. I mean, they might build one.
We've only seen their airport. We haven't seen their seaport.
Yeah. Is this chapter the first we heard that Fujitora blinded himself?
That's something else I wanted to talk about.
That's an interesting question because it's like, did he did he choose like, oh, I want to be blind now, or did he is he talking about maybe a mistake he once made that is responsible?
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered if the scar obviously goes over his eyes, and it's always been kind of like a question of if that's what blinded him, and et cetera, but now I'm even more interested to find out.
He did state somewhere before, and I don't remember, it was earlier in the arc, but he did state something before that was something along the lines of that suggested that he had actively chosen not to see anymore. Now that that could be like a kind of poetic way of saying that he put himself into a situation where he got cut over his eyes like that, or it could mean that he did that to himself somehow. But he has said that before, because that did not come as a surprise to me.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a big nerd for the Admirals, but we haven't gotten any big backstories for them yet, and this one really feels like it's begging for an eventual flashback sometime somewhere, or at least more information.
In due time. This is, I think Fujitora is, we're far away from seeing the last of Fujitora. He's become such an important player. Mm-hmm. And I still have this theory that I think there's going to be this rifts in the Navy, and I've had that dating back to Smoker. And then with Kuzan and now with Fujitora, I think there's going to be this eventual split.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the end of the series, the good guy Marines will be the ones in charge and whatnot.
Mm.
Agreed. And hopefully for the dude's sake, Django and Full Body are on the good side.
Also, of all the Luffy's. His Coliseum was it was Group B, right?
Yes.
I thought it was...
No. That was Bartolomeo's.
Group C.
Yeah.
No,
Group
C.
Oh, that's right.
Of all the Group C, I think John Bart is the only one who never came back out of the Coliseum. I still think about him. I'm like, what? Where'd he go?
Which one was John
Also,
Bart?
Where's Musi?
He was the cactus guy.
You mean John Ango?
No, it's John Ango.
But I think Sam
Jean Bart was the slave.
Yeah, you're thinking
John Bart is
right.
He's one of the hard
John
parts.
Ango.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. I was thinking of John Ongo during this when we were doing this manga recap. I'm like, oh yeah, we never really saw him. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen Musi again.
Yeah, totally.
No closure to that. I kind of want to see them, go off to sea and just Musi arrive at the shore and be like, goodbye, friend Musi.
Oh, he has to jump on a ship like Nami did.
Yeah, he's got to just end up already being on one of the ships or something.
If it already wasn't such a huge
Karoo.
ship. Yeah. If it already wasn't such a huge ship, I would love to see Musi do the whole Nami thing and then just fall through the floor.
Strong.
And then
He's got strong legs.
Yeah, we're sinking. We're now sinking. Steven, talk to me about this chapter.
Oh man! Well, I love the chapter. Obviously, it's a great chapter. But there were a few things that struck me, which is that it really takes a monumental scene like all of these characters from the arc pledging their allegiance to Luffy's lead, to not have people complain about the fact that one chapter after Luffy claims that he needs to fight this admiral because it's the new world, and then he doesn't fight the admiral because Oda conspires to have the story not go that far. And it's kind of like, I mean, we knew that Fujitora, he wasn't just going to get beaten to a pulp and then not be in the story anymore. Like, obviously, he's going to play a major role. So there wasn't going to be some kind of conclusive battle, but it did kind of feel like, oh, look, he did it again. The only thing different was that Luffy wanted to fight this time and he was prevented from doing so. And so we didn't get to see Fujitora and Luffy going all out at it once again. But yeah, I didn't really mind that so much. I was a little surprised. I think I had a kind of a moment of realization, which is like when I saw this, the ending scene with the different captains and stuff. I thought it was a great scene, and while I wasn't expecting, necessarily all of these particular figures, like I felt like positive that Bartolomeo, would have wanted to tag along. I did not expect necessarily each of all of these groups to join up, but we knew that this was kind of going to be an eventuality of this arc, that all these guys were going to join in the alliance. And we had been talking about this specifically on the podcast, like over and over and over throughout the course of the arc. And so I was a little bit surprised and kind of came to an epiphany where it's like, oh yeah, people flip their shit about this chapter, in the fandom, because not everyone is as crazy as we are in terms of like attempting to chart out everything that has been foreshadowed and whatnot. So I'm sure there were a lot of people that this came just completely out of the blue and they were just like, oh my God. But for me, it was kind of just like, yeah, no, I mean, this was going to happen, right? I mean, we all knew this was going to happen, right?
Yeah, it brings me back to the Sabo thing. Like, Sabo's alive! Like, yeah, dude. Yeah, you
we all agreed on that a long time ago.
But I don't
get the memo.
I don't necessarily think people aren't studying each manga page. Oh, I wouldn't say every manga page, but when we saw that cover story with Ace and Whitebeard's graves, we were like, the Sakai Cups, like,
yeah,
right there. Some people didn't even catch that, but.
Right. Yeah, no, but I obviously I'm not in bringing this up to be like, yeah, I mean, gosh, people are dumb, right? It's more like we are crazy, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad we got that Idio Bluegilly buddy cop pairing. I've been lobbying for that ever since they were introduced, I think.
Yeah, man, with their buddies Abdullah and Jeet.
They're the Mecha Shiba crew. Joey, was there something else you wanted?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to note real quick that one of the reasons why I wanted to be on this week was because this is the chapter that I had thrown in for our bet about the end of Dressrosa.
Son of a bitch.
And we are just, I don't know if you can say, I mean, they've left the island, technically.
The ships haven't sailed yet, but I think the next person in line is Brian, who picked 802, and...
By going by Price is Right rules, you are under if they leave at 800, so I think you still win.
So I, as of right now, don't want to jinx you, but I get the feeling that, you're going to win this unless Fujitora is like, no, I changed my mind.
And then an epic 10-chapter battle.
Bring down his sky of floating garbage.
I do wonder about Fujitora, though. I wonder, like, how powerful he would be if he could even throw all that garbage 3 miles away at a different ship. I mean, even that would be pretty ridiculous, even for someone as powerful as him.
And you got to remember, he's blind.
But he can see a little bit, I think. With
he can see blobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And was there anything else you wanted to?
I really enjoyed Fujitora in this week's chapter. He was just sort of like, that's not how fighting really is. He's trying to tell Luffy how the world really operates. Like, you have to uphold. Basically, it's like with being a father. you have to uphold your standing. You have to fight to protect your name. If you let people just sort of take pity on you and walk on you, then people who rely on you will lose respect for you, and you can't really have that when you're in the new world. That's not how the new world works. I like that. I like that aspect of his speech, especially as it relates to Luffy and what Luffy ended up with at the end of the chapter.
Yeah, it's about principle, not about like personal sentiment, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than that, this was a fun chapter. I'm very happy that this got to be my manga recap. Now, artwork is great. So much great detail and all those ships. The Yanta Maria is gorgeous. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else really to add than what you guys already said. Like I said, this didn't come as a surprise, but it was still like an awesome moment. I'm like, cool. I'm glad this is decided here and now. I was expecting this to happen later in the story, but I like that there's this. It's been brought to attention now.
What? Maybe chapter 900?
Who knows? Oh man, you ever think about the future?
Ending with this, like, it does somewhat justify such a long arc. I think in some ways, I was thinking about that a little bit. About it has some very long and important lasting impacts.
But now I also think of all the people I've heard complain, like, there's so many characters, I can't remember them all. I'm like, yeah, well, they're important. They're a family now.
Yeah, who would have guessed that Orlumbus was going to be important?
Yeah, is there anyone?
I thought the with the Yonta Maria thing that he was just a throwaway gag, like then and there for sure.
I agree. Yeah, out of all these characters, I really wasn't expecting Orlumbus to be a major player.
It's just occurring to me. It's kind of a nice touch that they're doing the exchange of cups thing, because that's what gave Luffy, Sabo, and Ace the legitimacy of their brotherhood, right? Mm-hmm. So if they do something like this with this group,
well,
it's a different relationship, but it's still a family relationship, and I kind of feel like Luffy would have to respect that, hopefully.
And they are a bunch of hot anime boys, so. Especially that Orlumbus.
Yeah, especially Orlumbus.
I think that's going to bring our manga recap to a close, unless there's anything else that needs to be brought to attention.
Poor man, Sherry.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot.
Boyfriend's leaving.
Sometimes I forget she's a character.
does Law not get a number? See, is his alliance different?
Yeah, we haven't. Law's there. He's around.
Yeah.
I see him on the last page.
The thing is, Law is an ally. He's not under the umbrella of the Straw Hat Pirates. He would not be stooping to that level. I would imagine.
I think he could. I wouldn't be
Maybe.
surprised.
Well, then again, like Whitebeard was aligned with other with those pirate crews. They weren't necessarily the Whitebeard pirates. They were their own pirate crews, but they still came to help him out during Marineford. So I figure that's where the Heart Pirates are. But yeah,
Man. You imagine if it's like chapter 800 title, like the Straw Hat Armada or something like that. Holy shit.
Well, I mean, even Whitebeard's allies called him Pops and stuff. Like what was Squarto? They had that father-son thing.
Squarto.
Squarto.
Squarto doesn't exist in Pirate Words 3. I saw Brian was playing it, and it's just some random guy that stabs Whitebeard.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's your punishment, Squarto. Think about what you've done.
One last thing I wanted to add is when I thought of Orlumbus, he reminded me of he made me think of a successful Don Krieg.
Oh yeah, Orlumbus,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone's unless Don Krieg still appears as the Don Krieg 3000. Only time will tell.
Or Geen, yeah. Waiting for Geen to show up.
Yeah, still waiting on Geen. But that's gonna do it, guys. That was fun. That was a great manga recap. And I'll look forward to doing one in 2 weeks.
Bring it on. 800.
800.
Show me what you got.
800. Chapter Dee-doos. That doesn't work very well.
Tobias!
Let's move on to the next segment.
All right.
This is the anime recap for episode 708, An Intense Battle, Law versus Doflamingo. And right off the bat, 6 minutes of recap this week. So we are back to the old pre-flashback Dressrosa format, and there's lots of angry staring and panting in this episode.
Not as much panting, though.
Yeah, lots of just standing around, just for like 2 or 3 beats too long every time. You know?
And if there was one thing that summed up, like, how annoying this was freaking Treble in the background, like, like, Treble was a metaphor for this episode. Just like, hey, are you listening to me? La, hey, are you listening to me? And I'm like,
no, shut up.
End already.
Although the first scene was okay because it had the focus on the eyes of Law and the glasses of Doflamingo. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a good sort of visual match. But there is a bunch of time wasting going on in that scene in particular. Like when Treble mocks Law for falling down, and then he just proceeds to be as annoying as possible.
Yeah, he
wouldn't shut up.
He's exceptional.
Well, they stare at each other some more. And then Law cuts the rampart tower from the castle, and Dofi deflects it slowly. You ever get the feeling like there isn't... Like, it doesn't seem like there's impact going on sometimes.
No. You don't feel like a corner of a palace, there's any consequence to this.
Yeah,
it loses a little bit of that. I think, like in the manga, it might seem like a bigger deal because of the rendering and the inks and all that. Like,
and also the speed at which you can assume that it happens.
Yeah, but this one's just floating like, oh no, Dofi, it's gonna squash us at a snail's pace. Like, that's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's partially the way the story is written, but it could be adapted so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dofi is just sort of he's annoyed by these attacks. He doesn't treat these either.
He's like, cut the crap already. And he's my sentiments exactly.
So we go back down to Bellamy and the clone fighting Luffy, and basically the clone keeps putting Bellamy in the way and keeps attacking Luffy, and he basically will until he falls apart as a human, because that's all he's good for at this point. Bellamy begs for his own death, but Luffy won't give it to him. And I do like how they draw Bellamy's face throughout that scene. It's so pathetic looking and sad. So blubbery. Yeah, I like that about it, because he's just he's like at his wit's end. He's being completely controlled, and at one point he just chucks, like Bellamy is just chucked at Luffy, and they do that weird intense facial effect, like the outline thing. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to remember.
Like it's sort of impact with like these black lines emanating from the clone and from Luffy, just at that scene. It was kind of a cool effect, but. Yeah, it was there. Back at the plateau, second level, Zoro dodges a giant Pika punch, and he splits Pika's arm up. That's really awesome.
Now, here's the thing. Like, this scene with Pika and Zoro, like, this was not in the corresponding manga chapter. They actually took this from, like, the chapter ahead. So had they paced this normally, this episode would have had even less going on in it.
I'm thankful for that, because the Zoro and Pika stuff was easily the best part of the episode.
Yep.
So Pika scampers off after having brought Zoro all the way out here, and Zoro has to go chase him down again, which is actually a good way for Pika to fight, because he's smart. He's smart that way, at least. But then Orlumbus is doing stuff, and oh yes, it's bowling time. I'd forgotten about this. It made me so happy to see that. Zoro is impressed by the Commodore bowling,
the way they all come to attention.
Yeah.
Like, wait, why are we doing this?
This all pop up one at a time.
And Orlumbus remarks that if they were at sea, the Yonta Maria fleet would be very helpful indeed, but they're on land, so it doesn't really work that way. Zoro runs off, thanking Orlumbus for bowling. And then Pika takes over the entire plateau, and that was really that was some cool animation right there. He looks like Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
beware of the temple gods.
Yeah. And then Zoro insults Pika's laugh, which is a bad move.
The scene where Pika's face just pops out of the plateau is really great. It looks so funny.
And then the laugh, like, Jesus, I don't even know how to just. It's like all over the place.
Yeah. I just love every time I think about it, like the fact that he's voiced by the guy who does Gregory in Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm. Also,
one of the better filler characters in the history of Dragon Ball Z.
He's also the Kaioshin too.
That's right. But then he does the Charles Stone, which seemed, I don't know, it seems
Kind
more
of phallic.
Well, it's supposed to be like a kick, right? It's a dance move. It's supposed to be his leg kicking him, I think. Mm-hmm. And it seemed, I don't know, maybe it's because I was expecting it, but I felt like it was done better in the manga. There wasn't much like dynamic action. It just sort of happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, I don't remember the scenes didn't really stick out with me. It was more the Pika laugh. That was the best part of it. That was the build up.
But so Zoro and Pika stare at each other, and it takes us into the ad break. Zoro is going to enjoy cutting Pika up. He says that. Coming back from the ad, Doflamingo continues to berate Law for not seeing the big picture of the whole, his plan, and he doesn't think that Law can pull the trigger. Like, thinking about Corazon has made Law emotional and irrational, and he really should have just stuck to the original plan and not attacked Doflamingo directly, making Kaido come after Doflamingo for disrupting the SAT. And we flash back to the cylinder, and we see that Doflamingo has reminded Law of what happened on Minion Island, and he's directly blaming Law for Corazon's death because Law brought the secret letter to Virgo. And, everything sort of happened because of that. And that's what, at this point, Law he drops his sword. Doflamingo takes both of his arms, and he's like, everything that Corazon did was in vain because you failed here. And he raises his leg up, and actually, I found this scene to be very powerful. He sort of does this tilt-a-whirl kick saw and severs Law's arm, and it was actually hard to watch, which is good. Like, when a character loses a limb, it should be like, you should freak out like this. You should I feel like this is how he should act, and I think they did a good job of it. Sort of like with the mood they set, and they sort of took this sort of unblinking look at it.
And his legs kicking in the air like that.
Yeah. And oh my God, Treble is just so pleased with himself. Oh, he's insufferable during this scene too. He's just laughing, really enjoying himself. And Doflamingo is as well, but Treble is just really annoying because of his voice. But back down to the fight between Luffy and the clone. He pumps up to Gear 2, and then he Red Hawks the clone after hopscotching Bellamy to get him out of the way. And that's pretty much all that happens in that scene. It's a cool scene with the clone spitting fire after getting the Red Hawk, which is pretty cool. But right away we go back up to Doflamingo and Law, and Doflamingo forgives Law for coming after him in this really condescending manner. And then he pulls out the gun that he shoots family members with. He's like, yeah, execution should only be done with lead bullets. Like, oh, the lead.
All shooty right here.
Yeah. Well, and also the lead because of the white lead disease. Mm-hmm. Then Luffy does a jet gatling on the string clone, and they have a different kind of music. It's sort of this like a orchestral sort of horn music. It was kind of understated, but I liked it how they did that with when he attacked the clone. And then the clone busts through the floor right before Dofi gets to put another lead bullet in Law, and that's where the episode ends for the week. This episode had pacing problems.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean the animation wasn't terrible. It was regular animation for this episode, but man, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, Law
more happened than last week.
That's true. Law does lose his arm, and we finally get the end of the fight between Luffy and the string clone. But I also feel like this setup has been going on since well before the flashback even started, with the way they had been sort of individually fighting, and maybe that's just how it feels because the flashback was so long.
They fell into a pattern of repetition right before we entered the flashback, and then they just picked it right back up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I hope it's. I mean, Steve, you said the next episode looks like it's done better, but I don't know. It's
Yeah,
hard to
that's
tell.
what it
Pacing.
is.
No, I think the content for next week's episode looks better to me.
Yes.
I mean,
The animation looked in the preview looked all right.
Yeah.
Looked better than this week, but you never know.
yeah, you could always. That's how they get you. They just put all the nice stuff in the preview.
My expectations are always super low.
Well,
for
I
individual anime episodes.
what I really like about next week is like they're gonna show flashback of younger Bellamy meeting Doflamingo, and it looks like they reanimated a ton of Jaya stuff, which is probably going to be their filler. But I'm all
right.
for that. Totally use that. I would love to see that stuff reanimated, and it's been so long since we've seen that stuff anyway.
That's
It's not something that has been normally flashed back to, so I'm so looking forward to that. I can't believe I have more to say about next week's episode that I haven't even seen than this week's episode. It was slow. It was slow, and I guess you're not really going to have Law just splurting out blood after getting his arm cut off. So I felt like I felt like the tension wasn't all there, but.
I mean, I think the cutting off of the arm was, besides the Zoro Pika stuff, was probably I wouldn't say it was enjoyable, but it was some of the most well done part of the episode. Just the way they treated it with like the utmost seriousness. But there isn't that much else to talk about with this episode.
Yeah, I guess not. I really have nothing else to say. Unfortunately, I was right. I don't want to just out front say that, but I told you I had that premonition that the episodes following the flashback weren't going to be as good.
Well, that's an inevitability. Like they go in waves, right? Like there'll be a batch of good episodes, but then that means they have to bottom out at some point.
Yeah, which usually means some of the later episodes for the fights. I was all thinking, well, I can't get into specifics, but when we get to some major fights, I'm hoping and praying for some awesome animation.
Yeah, I have a prediction for how the upcoming fights will be, and that's that some episodes will look terrible and some of them will look great.
Hopefully, the later episodes with the slightly the characters higher up on the pedestal will get the nicer budget.
Yep.
Who knows? But hey, that's another episode. That's 708. Can't say I will. I will
Ever watch it again?
Yeah, I probably not till it's dubbed.
Yeah, and who knows if physical media will even still exist then?
Well, it's just as long as
The dubs will.
Yeah, as long as the English dub exists, that's fine. I don't care. Hey, if it's just projected from my eye, that's fine. That's fine with me, just as long as it exists. Went a weird direction. Let's get into the next segment. This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, theories, answer them, we discuss them. That's how I introduce this segment. We're going to start with emails. Our first one comes from Proxy Hunter, and he asks, what are your opinions on Kanjuro? I feel like he had more character development prior to his introduction. Without his Devil Fruit, there isn't much interesting about him. Yours, Proxy. Well, Kanjuro, I don't think I'll be too harsh on him because he wasn't a focus of the Dressrosa arc. He was definitely a focus for...
Ono.
He was definitely a focus for Kinemon, trying to find him and rescue him. We're going to get a lot more of Kanjuro, I think, when we get to Wano.
Which a lot of us are predicting is the next major arc, right?
Yeah, I think it's...
Considering like all the Japanesey stuff that is associated with Kaido as well.
Yeah, and with Kaido, the way he looks. And really, we still don't know that much about Kinemon in Momonosuke either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't
Or that other samurai that was with them.
Yeah, there was another guy. Yeah, so
we don't know much about him at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too harsh on them.
I mean, I like Kanjuro as sort of a gag character, and he was helpful for what he does, and I really appreciate a very powerful, serious, but also comic relief character at the same time. I appreciate that they could put all that together.
Word. All right. Our next one is from James, and he writes, "Hey, OPP, something seems to be wrong with the site and downloading. I can't seem to be able to download or play the older episodes of the podcast. If this is fixed before the next episode, then I apologize for the reiteration."
I believe all our episodes are on SoundCloud and are downloadable. I might be wrong about that, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, you picked the wrong week to ask this question.
Yeah, but if you want to download them, you can go straight to our SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com/One Piece Podcast, and I'm pretty sure you can directly download all of them from there.
Yeah, that's what I recommend.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our next question comes from Fury, and they write, when Leo exchanges a cup of sake with Luffy, will he drink from a little or normal-sized cup? Let it be a normal-sized cup. I want to see him get wasted.
I want to see him bathing in it like Kitaro's dad.
There we go.
Some funny imagery there. All right, our next one is from Damon Shaw. He says, hey, guys. You all talked a little bit last week about the One Piece POP line. I was wondering which of the podcast crew collects them and what are some of your favorites. Also, have any of you guys checked out the new variable action heroes line from Mega House? Thanks for answering and keep up the good work. I've never owned a POP.
I have one. I think it's like the first generation Sanji. And
I thought you had Zoro.
no, I want the Skypiea Zoro with the tank top. That's the one, because I don't like the because they haven't done a Zoro that wasn't a movie Zoro, I think, in a long time.
They are doing a classic pre-time skip Zoro though.
So that might be the one I have to buy, because I made a promise to myself like buy almost no figures like 3-4 years ago. I've mostly stuck to that. I did buy a Zed figure this summer, but that's like the first thing I've bought in a long time. And I'm kind of weird with my merchandise in that my most prized piece of One Piece merchandise is my basically McDonald's Happy Meal toy of a golden Den Mushi.
It is
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much of a figure. I like figures, but I don't buy a lot. I think I usually come home with 1 or 2 little things after AWA. I don't go to a lot of anime-specific conventions, but like I don't ever spend enough money to buy a POP on them, unfortunately. I'm a big book nerd, so I have lots of books and stuff.
What about you, Sam?
POPs are too expensive for me.
Granted,
I don't really look at them.
I mean, and when I bought one, it was only. I mean, still, this is a lot of money, but it was only like $65.
Yeah, that's what they used to be, that original line, and that was expensive to me as a kid. But now it's, like I said, like the average price I see them at cons will be over $100. I don't. Brian would have been great because an easier question to ask Brian is, what POPs does he not have?
Wow. I remember Alina. He's appeared on the podcast a couple of times in sort of the middle past. She was on a couple of years ago, but I remember her having like an entire like an army of pacifista Kumas.
Whoa.
Like, yeah. Or it might have been, or maybe she was just posting the pictures of someone that she knew who had a collection like that. But man, some of those were ridiculous.
Yeah, and Kuma's huge.
Yeah, and also favorite POPs, the General Frank.
General Frankie.
Yeah, that costs like $130. I would never buy that.
I'm a WCF man myself. I like those World Collectible figures.
I love those, and I don't see them enough. And I don't have the money to like buy a full set like online, but I love them.
Same. I kind of leave it up to chance. If I see one at a show that I like, I'll get it. But besides that, yeah.
I want more of those classic 5-inch rubber like Pants and Works toys that were big 5 years ago. I want those to be popular again.
Like I'm more of a Figure Art Zero kind of guy because they're way more affordable, and
I think they look nicer.
Yeah, I think some of them look great. I was looking at the Magellan one. I was like, oh, I should have got this.
I've got the Caesar one, and I really like it.
Yeah, I never got the Caesar. Like I have, who do I have? I'm looking up on my shelf right now. I have the Time Skip Frankie. I got Sanji with the big flaming kick. Had to own that. I have Lucy. A friend gave me that one. I have the Zoro, which kind of goes hand in hand with the Mihawk one. I have the Eneru.
That's a good one.
Yeah, had to buy. That was a good weekend for me at a con, so I was like buying it. And then I have like the Time Skip Sanji one too.
I plan to buy a lot more, but I'm more or less done buying figures. I had like the Caesar and the Tashigi and Kid.
Yeah, I'm always a little stingy, but with POPs, the Arlong looks incredible, and that box is huge. The box is so huge. Other than that, I don't know. Well, technically, did did help with the purchase of a POP. It was an Enru. Take a guess who we got that for. But yeah, other than that, no, I don't own any POPs. Almost got one. I almost got the Sanji Film Z one, and I didn't.
I feel like the film, the Strong World and Film Z POPs were busy, like really busy, and I didn't like them as much. But maybe that's just post hoc justification of not wanting to spend any money on it.
Yeah, I would have loved to own all the Straw Hat ones from. The Strong World Straw Hats.
Yep.
Those looked incredible too, but they cost money.
What's the next email, Steve?
Our next one's from Samuel, and he writes, "Hey, podcast dudes. What do you guys think about the idea that CP0 might be the last enemies for the Straw Hats in the series? I know they most likely will fight the Blackbeard pirates near the end, but I think this fight will be for the title of Pirate King. Then, after Luffy is already Pirate King, they will find out about what happened in the Void Century and declare war on the world government for some reason. I don't think that the Gorosei themselves are fighters. It's been stated that CP0 are the world government's top fighters. As for the Marines, they are part of the government. They aren't part of the government, they just work for them. So after whatever it was that the world government did in the Void Century is revealed to the entire world, maybe most of the Marines will turn against them too. What do you think? Joey, it sounds like you have something you'd like to say. Do you?
Oh, I think that was maybe Sam that was murmuring.
Oh, sorry.
Are CP0 fighters?
I don't recall that being said.
I thought CP9 were like the strongest ones, and then CP0 were like maybe the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like CP9 was secret, like a secret organization. So I guess that makes CP0 like double secret.
Yeah, you kind of. I kind of wonder about that. I like where Samuel's getting at. Like the fight with Blackbeard could be determined Pirate King, but that might necessarily be the end of the series. It's kind of just like, it reminds me of one of my favorite manga. It's like Ice Shield 21. They're building up to a certain championship game, and after that happened, like, all right, and here's one more thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, I thought that would be the ending, but all right. I
imagine the government and the Marines and the revolutionaries and all them. Their sort of part of the story will be sort of closed off before the Blackbeard fight, in my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Who knows what the order will be? Only time will tell. Anybody else got something to say?
Or they're all intertwined into like one big finale arc, and then it like sort of ends with Luffy versus Blackbeard or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, even if CP0 end up being strong fighters, I don't know. I just don't. At least at the moment, like Luffy has so much of an emotional attachment towards fighting Akainu that it seems like from the world government side, he would be the one that he would fight in the finale.
And cool. All right. That does it for emails this week.
All right. And on our subreddit, that's reddit.com/r/One Piece Podcast. They put up a weekly piece together thread, and we got 10 questions this week. First one comes from Maxter Dexter, who asks, hello, OPP. I'm protecting Bartolomeo and Cabbage's figureheads. The White Horse pirate ship has a magnificent figurehead of their beautiful captain made out of white marble. I think they have to be made out of wood. I don't know I don't know if you can make a figurehead out of. I guess I don't see why you couldn't, but I just always assumed they were carved out of wood.
You don't think it would be a horse? Beautiful white horse? I mean, he rides a horse.
I thought it'd be a cabbage.
Just a giant rose.
I'm not sure. I don't think they necessarily need to be made out of wood. It's depending how big they are. But let's see. The Bartow Club pirate ship has a crude rendering of the future Pirate King. The Straw Hats pirate Captain Monkey D. Luffy made of bronze. I think bronze would be too heavy. I don't know. It all depends on the size, I guess. I
don't know. I'm with you on Luffy being the figurehead of the ship. I just think that would be hilarious. But I don't. I feel like all the figureheads are just carved out of wood. But I could be wrong. I mean, it seems like you would just mess up like the steering or something.
Who knows? What are we, pirates?
Yeah. I don't know. I do like the idea that it's Luffy, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Next one comes from Gear Second, who asks, I was wondering if you consider the information in the databooks to be canon. I know Sabo was confirmed dead in there. What?
What?
I don't know if that's true, but that made sense in the story at that point, or maybe okay. And otherwise, it would have been spoiled big time. There's levels of canon, and I think that you really shouldn't rely too much on things that are said outside of manga chapters. I mean, data books are probably the most reliable level of non-canon material, much like SBS. SBS, sometimes it's jokey, sometimes it's actually a correct answer, but I feel like they're it's one level removed from
Yeah, I mean, for me, it has to sort of be straight out of Oda's mouth.
Yeah, and I have, I forget when exactly, okay, yeah, the flashback already happened. I have Databook Green. It does not say Sabo's dead. At least it doesn't have a, I think with the Whitebeard pirates, it has with the Whitebeard pirates, Whitebeard, Ace, and Thatch or have gray tone over them to show that they're deceased. Sabo doesn't have that.
That's interesting. I guess what I would sort of personally think is that information from the data books is canon until proven not. Like, you could say that it is, but if something within the manga conflicts with it, I would always just say, "Oh well, manga's the sort of
the way I see it is
that's a good rule of thumb."
I'd almost treat the information in a data book as if it was the narrator of the story telling us, and not specifically Oda.
It's true. Definitely. The
narrator would say at that time, the narrator would have said, "Sabo is dead." Blah blah blah.
But take it with a grain of salt, because otherwise, if you would go by the English words in it, you would think the warlords were called the Seven Worlds of the Sea.
Right. So mostly on the things that are in the manga itself.
So if you were ranking information, it would be information written in Japanese would be number 1 in the data books, and then number 2 would be information written in English, because that's less reliable.
Right on.
Next question comes from Dubiono, who asks, in the case that an animated reboot happens for One Piece, a la DBZ Kai, FMA Brotherhood, do you think it should stick 100% to the original manga, or offer some small differences, like how the anime's take on the Alvida and Morgan arcs had different pacing and details? If it went 100% to the original, do you think that would cheapen Oda's manga by standing it against a medium with full color voices and music with proper pacing?
I don't think we're going to get one of these reanimated One Piece series, because One Piece our next chapter is chapter 800, and it's not close to being done.
No.
Also, for the most part, the early days, I think One Piece through Alabasta, the anime had a bunch of differences. But it's very loyal, though, to the subject. It's not like Full Metal, and it's not like other series where they caught up and they had to make up their own story from that point. It's too long of a series. And, Dragon Ball is huge, but even Dragon Ball and, DBZ combined is
444 episodes, I believe. And over 500 if you include GT. But
And One Piece has long surpassed that. I don't think there's a reason to. People bring up the whole One Piece Kai thing a lot, but why? The only thing is just to cut out the filler, and if you cut out the filler, it's just you're just making less episodes of One Piece.
Yeah, and from what I've heard from Kanzenshuu and other sources is that Kai was, at least in Japan, somewhat of a failure.
Yeah.
Unless you say that maybe ultimately it led to there being movies, which ultimately led to Super, but I don't know, it was not a huge success.
Kai was not a huge success because it originally ended after the Cell Saga.
And there was also that plagiarism scandal, right, with the music.
Yeah, that was a shame. And then
although if you've been paying attention for a long time, or if you've been listening to the Kanzenshuu podcast, it was something you heard about a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Man, this is taking me back to 2010.
This is taking me back to 2005, 2006 when I first started listening to they were the first podcast I ever listened to.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I've heard some of those first episodes. They're pretty rough.
People didn't mean it was that, and like Ricky Gervais. That was the only podcast that were out right then that I was even aware of. It means, like, Kevin Smith didn't even have podcasts yet. That was like 07.
Like, the only thing One Piece has done now is gone back and kind of made like HD versions of their early episodes. Kind of, made them widescreen, cleaned them up. I don't see it. I don't see it happening with One Piece. If anything, the Kai thing that Toei has done with it is like they do the specials, like episode of Mary or
like episode of Nami.
Yeah, episode of Nami, stuff where they go back and visit old material, and sometimes it's more truer to the manga. Like maybe when it comes to, even when it's something as simple as just like color schemes. Like I know with episode of Mary, Apis was still in it in the flashback scene to the Calm Belt. But I think that's the closest you're going to get is to like that Kai effect. I don't see it happening.
It's the closest you're going to get until 15 years after the anime ends.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It would have to be at least a decade after, and then they'd have to do some breakneck pacing to make it worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, next question comes from Orange Shades, or actually no, it comes from Shadowgunner 200. Hey, OPP, if Luffy accepts the 7 crews as a part of the Straw Hat Pirates, what other crews would you like to see join in the future? Maybe a Fishman pirate crew with Jinbei and Wadatsumi. Maybe now that Law has accomplished his goal thanks to Luffy, he might help Luffy with his.
Do you think now Jinbei is going to find all the old members of the Sun Pirates and be like, hey, we're going to be pirates again, and we're gonna sail.
Do you expect to see at least Aladdin again someday?
I always brought up Aladdin because, like, Oda went out of his way to give him an Oda box. I'm like, he's got to be a significant character, otherwise, who cares?
It wasn't sort of the point of Aladdin. I mean, we just recently reread the stuff. Wasn't his sort of the point of his character was to be like, and some of them had normal lives afterwards.
Well, wasn't he a former slave too?
I think the point was that we didn't know.
I could have sworn he might have been a former slave. Manga volume's too far away. Oh, wait, here it is. Let me check. Entertain the masses. Oh, wow. It's the first page I opened to.
Amazing.
Aladdin, ship doctor, Sun Pirates. Former Neptune army soldier. There's your answer.
There you go. Maybe, I don't know. Luffy had claimed the land of Fishman Island as his own. It always makes me wonder if Jinbei is actually going to go on the journey, or if he is going to hang around Fishman Island, like being Luffy's representative and protector there. Although he's already left, as we know from his coverage.
And there's that scene where Neptune's assuring Jinbei that, hey, if you leave, we can handle ourselves. We got our army here, and
yeah.
Also, it seems like Neptune is interested in waving the Straw Hat flag. Like to what degree, this is sort of tying into my editorial again, to what degree would Fishman Island being their territory, like how much can we consider that Neptune army to be part of this affiliation as well?
Yeah, any other, I guess we mentioned this, I think, in the manga recap, but like if Gin has a sort of pirate crew or Don Krieg, God help us.
Don Krieg 3000.
Yeah, if Don Krieg 3000 and his best friend Gin show up again, maybe they would be allied with Luffy.
All right. Next question comes from Orange Shades, and this is kind of a long one, but he starts, the topic of the Reverie is one that I am very excited to see come to fruition, with the hinting of it throughout the series and it being reignited at Fishman Island. I can't wait to see the actual thing happen. As an aside, it's interesting how Oda can get his readers excited about diplomatic global relations. Maybe he should be in charge of the UN. All right. My theory for a while was that the Reverie would focus on Blackbeard and the Emperors. However, especially considering this chapter, I'm firmly in the belief that the Straw Hats will be the primary focus. The question is, will this result in a further fracturing of the stability of the world government? I cannot see Alabasta, Drum, Dressrosa, Provence, or the Flower Country siding with any actions that would go against the Straw Hats. I also can't see the Black Drum Kingdom or the Celestial Dragons letting that be all right either. So that's his theory.
The Reveries are going to have a lot of focuses this year. Like I don't think Luffy's going to be the center of it. I think they're going to have about a million different conversations to have.
But isn't there also the fishmen who want to come to the surface? Isn't that also happening?
Fishmen who want to come to the surface.
Yeah.
Fujitora wants to bring up
exactly.
the warlord system.
Yeah. There is a lot of problems in the world.
Doflamingo and whatever his sort of secret treasure information deal.
Yeah, like about the secret treasure of Mary Showa.
I just wonder what the Galgamex are going to think about all this.
Well, it's probably lined with razor sharp teeth.
At Reverie, we will finally see those silhouettes at the end of Thriller Bark.
I don't know. I don't think. I think Luffy is probably going to end up being the primary focus of the Reverie, but everything else that we've already discussed also ultimately ties into Luffy, I think. So,
Well, everything's just like a big web. Like one thing moves and everything else has to move with it.
exactly.
Yeah, part of me kind of like wants to be kind of like, well, maybe it would be cool if there something went on in this world that didn't have to revolve around our main characters. But part of me wants Luffy to crash in through a window in the middle of Reverie and cause havoc,
Yeah.
You'd have to go backwards for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Joe Man. Hey guys, I was wondering when you plan on submitting SBS questions from the community again.
That was an AP thing, right?
They did it with us, I believe, but
Okay.
I think we did this at one point in the past. This is mostly a Zach and Greg question, and Steven as well, but none of them are here right now. So I don't know. We'll mention it, I guess, and I don't know what's involved in doing that, but I guess we can try. That's all I can say about that. Another question that he has is a question that he would like to ask Oda is that we know what Robin's toy body looked like Raggedy Ann, but what would the other Straw Hats toy figures look like? This question could be applied to anyone who is present in Dressrosa.
I feel like Luffy would definitely be a monkey. He'd be some sort of monkey.
Robot monkey.
Robot monkey. Zoro. What would Zoro be?
Oh, well.
He could be a tiger, like that cool figure.
Something Japanese.
Oh, the Toshio Asakuma figures?
Yeah, Zoro is my favorite one of those.
Love that color spread. I always like Nami's cat from that, because the cat is very distressed.
Yeah. I was a little. I've still been working on the One Piece read through, and I was just thinking about how I was a little disappointed that not everybody got turned into toys. Usopp would be like a Pinocchio type, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, that's why Cavendish. I guess Cavendish got turned into that Pinocchio-looking thing. What would Sanji be?
I don't know. Cavendish should be like turned into a rocking hobby horse. It's completely useless.
Sanji would be turned into like a Lotso loving bear or something like that.
He could be a Ken. He can be a Ken doll.
Oh yeah, Ken doll. That would be good.
Much like a Ken doll, he's completely neutered.
That's me.
It was someone tweeted something at me. Maybe it was you, Joey, about Sanji's first kiss ever.
Oh yeah, that was a One Piece read through thing. Yeah. Yeah, the kiss from Violet. Oh. Yeah, I believe that's probably the first time he was ever kissed.
Considering he grew up with all those chefs. All those dudes.
Oh yeah, it's not
count.
like I work on a ship where it's like where I live with a bunch of cooks, male cooks, so there's no chance I'm masturbating.
Didn't Zoro and Sanji accidentally kiss in an anime filler episode?
Almost kissed, yeah.
Almost kiss.
Oh, not quite. Not the full Sasuke Naruto.
Hey, easy, ladies.
You gotta tease it. You gotta keep people interested.
Yeah. The thing is, with Naruto and Sasuke, they gave it away too early.
That was the whole problem the whole time.
Chopper would look exactly the same. Frankie would just be an awesome robot action
Transformer.
figure. Yeah. And Brooke would be like, I feel like he'd be like one of those toys you see like in Mexico, like during
No,
like,
he would be like a marionette doll.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I see one of those.
Or a music box. He'd have to have like a wind-up
Walking.
thing that plays music.
Like a Jack in the Box.
Nice. That's a good one. Anyway, our next Reddit question comes from VD Ramirez, and he wants to share his thoughts and hear the possibilities about this. So I'm thinking of the possibility of CP0 infiltrating the Straw Hat Alliance. How? By disguising as one of the subordinates of Luffy. Among those mentioned, the most likely for him are Idio and Bluegilly. Why? Their histories seem pretty vague compared to the others. They don't have previous crewmates, and then they decide to team up. Abdullah and Jeet could be a hint. Remember the time when the two were with Luffy and Law? They were betrayed by a certain Kurita competitor. What if that's sort of a foreshadowing? And the CP0 silhouettes have a resemblance to them. Some of those he acknowledges are pretty weak, but what if it's a cover-up? Or some said that the Idio and Bluegill are pretty weak, but what if that's a cover-up? I don't know. I feel like you're kind
John
of...
Ongo is the CP0.
There's no evidence either way.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but I can't really comment for sure.
I don't know. If we remember what Akainu's like espionage tactics are from Squardo, he's not quite the spy master.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was effective in that instance, but
No subtlety.
He's more of a blunt instrument. Yeah. Bilbo Baggins 23 asks, when the Straw Hats eventually reach Elbaf, what is the likelihood of the whole island being big fans of Soga King thanks to Oimo and Kashi? You know, like wearing shirts that say Sniper Island in your heart and Lulu for the Soga King song. Keep up the good work.
I predict them singing Bilbo Baggins. 'Cause that's his name. I predict like Oimo and Kashi kind of putting in the good word for Sniper King. Usopp saying like, "Oh yeah, he's great. You know, he's awesome."
I always wonder if like Dorian Brogy would come out of retirement if their duel ended ever. Yeah, I don't think it will because that's the story that we're telling with them. Mm-hmm. But you know, maybe it'd be nice to see them come out of retirement.
They could fight on a big ship.
Yeah, they could. It's like we'll fight later.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is sort of a tangent from this, but I would like to see them arrive on an island and sort of revisit Brooks' fame.
Yeah, we really haven't been on too many populated islands to see that, but I want that to be a thing. I don't want it to be forgotten that Brooke is a worldwide famous musician.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question from Gentleman Bastard 12. Hey, One Piece Podcast. He has a couple of questions. So on the latest,
a lot of questions today.
Yeah, on the latest podcast episode, he mentioned that you'd like to, we mentioned that we'd like to see a lion Zoan. Greg said on previous episodes that Oda loves lions. In that case, would you like to see a mythical Zoan like a Nemean lion from the Tales of Hercules introduced into the series? What other mythical Zoan types would you like to see Oda use?
I want to see like a Chinese lion, like a foo dog. Pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Jinbei's design, I was remarking on Jinbei's design sort of reflecting that, but you know, like those little stone statues you see outside of Chinese restaurants and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think a mythical Zoan of a food dog would be awesome.
I think an actual Tanuki would be nice, you know?
That's what came to my mind.
Yeah, he can actually hang out with Chopper, or, you know, but, you know, some aspects of Tanuki are a little problematic for children's television, but that's never stopped Japan before.
And Chopper's kind of already become a abominable snowman or a Bigfoot.
Yeah. That's true. But he's not wrapped in bandages though.
Yeah, Loch Ness monster.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. In the latest chapter, Usopp reaffirmed his desire to visit Elbaf, which we all know is Fable spelled backwards. Going with that theme, do you think that Elbaf could possibly be a sky island on top of a giant tree, similar to Jack and the Beanstalk, or the world tree in Norse mythology? Or if Elbaf is an island, could there be a giant tree on Elbaf on top of which the god of Elbaf resides?
I forgot that Elbaf was Fable backwards.
Can you imagine a bunch of giants way up in the sky? And one of them just happened to fall off.
The Jack and the Beanstalk thing was kind of done on Sky Island, though.
Yeah, I don't
don't
necessarily think they're a Sky Island because, like with the Beanstalk and all that, Giant Jack, we got all that covered.
Yeah, I don't know if we're really going to do that.
I think the Giants are more inspired by Vikings than they are Giants.
Yeah.
And his last question, now that Luffy is starting to gather his own allies, is this what you think Oda meant in his interview when he said that more crew members will be joining, or will there be more additions to the main crew? We know that Jinbei is already confirmed. Yeah. I think that is what he meant. Like, that's how things work in the new world. So
I think so.
Luffy's going to win in Rome.
I'm not closing the door on new, like, proper crew members quite yet. I just think that's just such an exciting and dramatic story development. It would feel wrong to say it's never going to happen again.
And I don't know. I closed that door a long time ago, but I understand why other people disagree.
We've all been
And
through
I think if when we ever do get to the end where we're done adding main crew members, I think there'll be something very explicit in the story or something Oda will say that will.
I get the feeling though, like other than Jinbei, because I always had this feeling like I feel like you had to be there before the time skip. Like Jinbei just made in because he interacted with Luffy before the time skip. I feel like anyone else joining in, it's like Mr. Poopy Butthole being in the main cast. Like, hey guys, gather around. Let's toast. You know, it's like let's toast to another victory won. Ooh wee. Yeah, we sure did beat him.
Just like that time before you guys met me, and you all had no.
Wait, don't flash back.
And our final Reddit question comes from Zalumi, who asks, "Hey guys, my question is: do you think that having subordinate crews will give Oda the freedom and flexibility to cover connected stories on different islands that the Straw Hats haven't visited in the New World? I'm sure that we would have liked to see the mystery surrounding Raijin Island or Mystoria Island, but it doesn't seem like the main crew is planning on backtracking to those islands. I gotta say, God, I hope not, because that is way too spread out of a story. I don't know if I can handle that.
I think it's pretty likely. Well, I mean, like I think similar to how Dressrosa had Dressrosa and Green Bit, and I think Greg talked about this a while. The idea of like multi-island story arcs. I think this is where we're heading, and I think that we might actually get there real soon. Like I don't think the next arc is just going to be Wano. I think it's going to be Wano and Zoe and maybe something else.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's going to be the type of thing where we're constantly having to check in on Orlumbus and Sai and all that stuff. I do really wonder about if we're going to be heading to Kano at some point, and if that's going to be relating to Wano, because they have been saying, didn't they say that Wano was like was in a period of war? It seems like they could tie that in with
off
Kano.
from the rest of the world.
Yeah, they're a closed country.
Yeah.
Sakoku. Yeah. But I think that's it for Reddit. You know what that means, Steve?
Yeah, I think I know what it means, but Ed, do you know what that means?
Yeah, it's time for Peace the Tweet. Yeah. And our first question this week comes from Lithion, who asked, since there are 9 supernovas and 9 straw hats, if each got a one-on-one fight, which supernova would you pit against which straw hat? We
asked that.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then our first question comes from Emil Nordpol, who asks, will Luffy meet or fight other sub-emperors who are not emperors yet but have a fleet? Is he like a silver medalist now?
Maybe.
I don't know. That seems like it would distract from the point of where we're going with the story right now. With like we're going after emperors. So maybe a sub-emperor would be but anyone who's a sub-emperor level will be working for the emperor they're trying to take down. It seems that way to me, at least.
Right.
I mean, how long can people honestly survive in the New World if they aren't, trying to be an emperor or are an emperor? I feel like people like that get smushed.
Mm-hmm. Where I had a train of thought and I lost it.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next question then. Benny Lol asks, when Jinbei returns, do you think he'll join the crew on the Sunny or add the Sun Pirates to Luffy's fleet?
That's something I brought up.
I think he's joining for real.
I think he's joining. He might bring some fishmen in as allies. Like, hey, we could get behind this kid. I think he's a straw hat. Mm-hmm. I'll be really disappointed if he's not.
Because I think there was a sort of a symbolic thing to all the Sun Pirates going their separate ways, and it would be kind of like a lamer version of the Blues Brothers to undo that.
Oh, Sun Pirates 2000.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah. Next question comes from Sizz16, and if Brook forced the crew into joining his band, what instrument would everyone play? Ooh.
Zoro would be the drummer because he'd drum with 3 sticks.
I feel like Frankie would be like the horn section all on his own.
Mm-hmm. Like a one-man band with a bunch of different things sticking out.
I feel like Luffy would try to compensate and like play a whole bunch of instruments at once.
You play like the bongos. I don't know why.
I feel like I see Robin kind of keeping it cool and just having a tambourine or something.
She could play like what's that big fancy stringed thing?
Harp.
Yeah, she could play a harp.
I think she's
trying
been,
to
I think she's been drawn playing a harp before. No, it might have been Vivi.
Vivi, yeah.
Vivi, yeah.
Conus actually did play a harp.
Yes. I see Usopp either playing a bass guitar or a saxophone.
I was going to say keytar.
Keytar? No,
Sanji can have the saxophone. He can do the smooth sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about Nami? Do we have that one? Maybe she has the tambourine.
I feel like Nami would just be the producer.
She's the auto tune.
She's the manager.
Yeah, she's the man.
She takes all
you
the
guys
money.
are in 5 minutes.
Is that everyone?
Chopper. Did we say
Chopper. I
Chopper?
feel like
Oh.
they'd give him a nice little triangle.
Yeah, he'd be the tambourine.
Yeah, there you go.
Who plays the lead guitar? Brooke
Zora?
does, right?
Yeah.
Or Zora would be bass.
Maybe Jinbei could play bass. He's the big guy, keep the beat.
Yeah,
I see it.
yeah.
Next one comes from Huntress Fan, who asks, do you think Bartolomeo limits the number of his crew to 56 Golmu on purpose?
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
So good.
Wow. I hope that's true, and I will act as though it is. Not much to discuss there, though. Our
Like that. That's good.
Side-chan question time. It's been a week, and Luffy's angered two emperors, declared Fishman Island his territory, beat Doflamingo, allied with Law, and gained a 5,600-man fleet. Considering Kaido has an army of his own, do you think Luffy's new fleet is going to stay in the story for the next arc or two?
Oh, and the 56 is in the 5600 too. Oh,
That's great.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
what was the question?
Is Luffy's new fleet going to stay in the story for the next arc or two?
Ugh, that's a good question.
You know, I was just thinking, we were talking about how we're going to probably head to Zo from here and then to Wano. And, Law's crew is on Zo. I think that might be finally where we part ways with Law. And we could just kind of focus on the Straw Hats and then Kinemon and his group in Wano.
But the purpose of the alliance is to take down Kaido. So why would they split up at that point, though?
It wasn't really, though, for Law.
But I think
He
it
was
will
saying
be
it was
now.
for Kaido.
Like
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
so.
I think Law is interested. I think Law is going to be interested in seeing Luffy become Pirate King.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't think Law is. I don't think Law is going off on his own at this point. I think he has designs on being like an important person. I think staying with Luffy and going to take down Kaido makes them powerful.
Yeah.
Another note from my editorial is my theory is that Law's new interest will be in the will of D, and like he and Luffy will sort of be a symbiotic duo in fulfilling that will. I think they're all going to follow along to Zo, so they're going to have we're going to have the full alliance in one place. And then after that, that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, the next one comes from Yato. Do you think Gear 5 will have something to do with skin or electricity? Like he's pointing at Gear 2 is like circulatory system, Gear 3 is skeletal, Gear 4 is muscular. I don't know. I mean, do we need a Gear 5 at this point?
I just want to see more Gear 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not ready
His
for.
ass.
I'm not ready for Gear 5 yet.
It's like when the new iPhone comes out. Like everyone's just like, oh, okay. So what's the next one going to be like?
Yeah. So the next question comes from Cadet Hat Sean, and he asks, when Sakazuki is eventually toppled by the Straw Hats, who would be your pick for Fleet Admiral? Fujitora? Smoker? Kobe?
Kobe eventually.
I'm thinking, yeah, Kobe eventually, maybe Smoker in the time being.
Yeah, I mean, do you think... I guess because Smoker, I mean, he does inspire like loyalty among his men, but he's sort of the, Fujitora and Smoker.
I guess he's Garp.
Yeah, they're kind of like the screw the higher ups kind of guys, and then ironically they end up being like the higher up. I don't know if they could handle that kind of responsibility.
I think Kuzan's going to come back to the Marines like after the Marines have changed.
Well, depending on his affiliation with Blackbeard, he might be blacklisted from the Navy.
Well, I think big things are going to change, and so people like Sakazuki are gonna step down, and they're gonna have people like strong guys like Kuzan to help out and whatnot. I don't know.
All right. Dante Griffith asks, if the Straw Hats come across a Meeseeks box, what would they use it for?
Luffy would probably just want his bronze statue.
Yeah.
Yes. You wouldn't want to I don't want to.
You wouldn't want them to find the One Piece for him.
Yeah, that's no fun. But definitely bronze statue is what I think Luffy would ask for. What do you think? What do you think some of the other crewmates would ask for? Like Nami's like, I want $1 million.
Usopp would probably be like, yeah, can I be a brave warrior of the sea? I was like, ooh, that's complicated. Oh, that was the one with, because I'm forgetting it's Meeseeks, the Meeseeks. Come on, Usopp, we've been already at this 32 hours.
No, Usopp, I'm the one that sucks.
Usopp would be the Jerry. I think most of the characters would drive the Meeseeks insane because they'd wish for things that they couldn't get.
Right.
Chopper would be like, I want there to be a cure to all diseases, and Meeseeks would be like, ooh, wow.
How about some cotton candy?
Right.
It would be about like 9 Meeseeks who would be unable to fulfill these wishes, and therefore they'd make their own pirate crew sworn to eliminate the Straw Hats. The Meeseek pirates.
I like it.
All right. The Kaizo Kurufi on Twitter asks, hey guys, do you think Crocodile and possibly a new Baroque Works, or maybe just Das Bones, would join the Straw Hat fleet? Following what happened in Marineford, from what I've seen at least, it looks like he's grown to respect Luffy a bit. If not, who else would you want to join this fleet?
I would love if Crocodile did.
Who knows? Yeah, Crocodile's still a mystery because I just wonder what he's out for now in the world. Because he's free and his dream was to be the Pirate King.
Mm-hmm.
We know that about him from the cover story, at least. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he would, though. I really don't know if he would. Like, he's sort of against the government more so than he would be pro-Luffy. I could see Crocodile joining up with the revolutionaries more likely, given his
that would be interesting.
Somewhat in his anger against the government and his some secretive connection to Ivankov of the revolutionaries. So,
Word.
Yep. There's one that wasn't a piece of the tweet. This one comes from Joshua Pong, who asks, whose boat are the Tontadas on? Do they have their own, or are they on someone else's?
I want them to have their own.
A tiny little ship.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Just like it follows along in the back, just sort of the little tiny ship.
Well, but they have a lot of members, so they
That's
could fill a pretty big ship.
All right. Next one comes from Frank Savaka, who asks, technically, this chapter makes Bartolomeo a member of the crew. Do you think Luffy might turn down their offer?
I don't think it necessarily makes him part of the crew. They're just they're affiliated, but
Part of the family, damn it.
Yeah, I think Luffy might say no, but I think he'll be convinced. Like someone was saying, like just the first panel of the next chapter is
he'll say no, and they're gonna do it anyway. That's how it's gonna go.
Yeah. And finally, our last one comes from Illusion Devil Fruit, who asks, do you guys think Fujitora thinks Luffy is a giant since he only attacked him with Gear 3rd? Also, what about Uchi? Is he coming? Musi. Yeah, we were disappointed by the lack of Musi. I don't think he's coming with.
Well, my popular theory that I put out on Twitter weeks ago is that Kaido is Musi.
It was
God.
spying all along.
Send me.
It was me, Luffy. It was me all along, Luffy.
I think it's pretty likely Fujitora has a pretty good idea of how tall Luffy is.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah,
They've talked on like multiple occasions now.
We
haven't
haven't seen Moosey since.
When was the last time we saw Moosey?
Last time we saw him is when he got shot by Doflamingo.
they? Uh-oh.
Oh,
In the well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And Abdullah and Jeet said that they'd take care of him. And where is he now?
It's probably on the grill somewhere.
Oh no.
so it's like that scene from Pulp Fiction. It's like he asked me to take care of her. Take care of her? No. Just take her out for a meal and show her a good time. But that was the last question for Piece the Tweet. I think that's the wrap up for the Piece Together segment this week.
Yeah, that was one hefty piece together.
Yes, indeed.
It's been a very, very long episode. Why don't we round it off?
Whoop. All right.
世界中の海を股にかけてゆく雄たけび上げて心が晴れたら出発の合図を響かせゆこう
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 384 for the week of Monday, September 7th, 2015. Kind of like your usual podcast, but we had a jam-packed manga recap for chapter 799, and we had our anime recap for 708 as well. Plenty to talk about today on this episode. We had fun. Mm-hmm. I hope you guys had fun listening to it.
But the podcast is also going other places in the near future.
Japan?
No. We're going to Atlanta. It's like Japan, but with worse traffic. And the One Piece Podcast does, in fact, have a panel at Anime Weekend Atlanta. So go see Steve and Joey and Jose there, and possibly Doctor will be at the convention. He may not be on the podcast panel, but go say hi to him. He's a friend of the show.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
Zach thinks he's gonna go
to AWA.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
He said like, what the hell.
We also have new episodes of OPP Dallas premiering periodically on our YouTube page. Jose is working on those, and we thank him for it. Is he still working on IGPX as of right now? He's in crunch time right now.
He's probably a very busy fellow. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, OPP Dallas is looking really well. Nice to see him use the good takes of the Patreon.
Yes, not the bad ones, like 80% of them.
I'll take it behind the scenes there.
I don't believe it.
Habib it.
Believe it. Yeah, other than that, like I said, no chapter next week. I don't know what that means for next week's episode. I believe Zach will be back.
Maybe not. We don't know.
Okay, so Zach might not be back. Only time will tell. I don't know what we'll have in store for you. I mean, the anime is still on. Unfortunately, we don't have a new volume to talk about yet. Maybe episode of Sabo discussion?
Season 7 Voyage 2 is out now.
I didn't get mine.
I mean, I haven't gotten it yet either, but that's just because can't afford to buy it right now.
Okay, because I pre-ordered it on Amazon, and then it told me, hey, you're probably not going to get it till the end of September or mid-October.
That's ridiculous.
And it happened to a bunch of people.
Well, granted, the dub episodes are available on Funimation's streaming service.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm. You could say I was disappointed because I really, really wanted to watch some of this Amazon Lily stuff, or a little bit of Amazon Lily. It's
like 2 episodes.
Yeah, Sabo Odi still takes up the bulk of that set, but I want to see those. I want to watch Kid and Law fight alongside Luffy, even though that episode was animated horribly. I want to see Kizaru. I want to see the Pacifistas.
But I think it's time to thank our guests for coming on the show this week. First, Steven, thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a lot of fun to talk about this chapter.
Right on. And Joey, thank you for coming on this week. And you will be at the Small Press Expo in Bethesda, Maryland, coming up when?
September 19th and 20th. That's the weekend before AWA. So, yeah, if you're in the Bethesda, Washington, D.C. area, you should definitely stop by. it's a really cool show, jam-packed full of really cool comics and artists and stuff. And that weekend at SPX, I will be debuting 2 books. My new graphic novel, Mermin, Book 4, Into Atlantis, and my new mini-comic, Tales of Unusual Circumstance, Non-Annual Special Number 1. So, yeah, come by and check them out.
Congratulations. And Sam, also thank you for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
And you have a couple more coming out on our website soon that you were working on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always writing stuff. I've got a few other things in the works.
Right on. And you also do the episode reviews for Anime News Network, so if you enjoy those, check them out.
Yep.
That was our crew. I think Ed was like, is this the time when we plug ourselves?
Well, it's also you usually throw it to me and I do the ways to contact. It's just we've thrown our whole groove off here.
Our wavelength is confusing, but hold on, I got it. Hey Ed, here, go long. How can the people contact us?
All right. That's OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. OnePiecePodcast is our Skype name. Go to OnePiecePodcast.tumblr.com for news updates and funny pictures. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, you can subscribe on Stitcher, you can subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, or call us on our phone number. Steve?
That number is 347-497-MAJI. That's 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
Anytime?
Anytime.
Anytime. With your questions, your comments, your theories. Hell, let us know what you think is going to happen in Chapter 800. This is a big one. Stuff always, shit goes down in hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
So, like last time, Chapter 700 was the between of Punk Hazard and Dressrosa. We got the reveal of the, the flame fruit at the end. We found out Buggy was in the Warlords, but we kind of knew that. We're the One Piece podcast. We know these things before you do. Apparently, we're that smug. But I think the next manga recap is going to be crazy. I'm looking forward to that. But let us know. Contact us. But yeah, that's it. That's it for this week. I guess it's time to say goodbye. Right?
Goodbye.
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 No, I want to thank you guys for coming on today. This was a great show. I had a lot of fun hosting it. And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen next week? Are we Zach or are we Zachless? Only time will tell. But for the One Piece podcast, my name is Steve.
And my name is Ed.
And we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
I already said goodbye once.
Good job, Parappa. You could go to the next stage now. Yeah! All right. Nothing gets to you, staying fresh, staying cool. With Mentos fresh and full of life. Fresh goes better. Mentos freshness. Fresh goes better with Mentos fresh and full of life.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Right.
What the fuck are we doing?
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you wanna test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach ya. Sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher. Now kick,
Kick,
punch,
punch,
jump,
chop,
block.
block,
Once more now, kick,
kick,
punch,
punch,